court challenge that could affect the revenue from the slots?
Well, we're facing a approximate $3.2 billion deficit right now in the state of Ohio. And, you know, unlike the federal government, we have to respond to this and we have to make necessary cuts. But who do we cut? We cut Ohio's neediest citizens. We cut programs that have provided a service to our citizens that rely on state assistance for years and years and years. And, you know, to tell people with mental health issues, to tell people with insurance issues, people that are homeless, kids that rely on us for food, food banks that rely on us to provide food for the hungry, our senior citizens who have contributed so much to this great state of ours. I don't even know if we can put a dollar sign on that.
Well, on that same line, is clearly the legislation is attempted to be drafted as tight as possible so we can avoid those court challenges. But every day that goes by that we don't put this in statute is another day we're delaying that inevitable process. So we want to make the statute as strong as possible to cover those contingencies, but we also need to get started on the process.
Representative, you worked on some of the original slot legislation with a member from the other side of the aisle, Representative Luke Blessing, on the slot machine program. In your estimation, then, there's really little difference between slot machines and video racing machines?
Yeah, I think, you know, to look at them in particular, they look very similar. And there's some photos that are out. They look, people playing them, they appear to be acting the same way as slot machines would. The legalities of it is something that, you know, we looked into, but it appears if there's a distinction, it's a minor distinction. I think there was a quote from one Republican senator that it rings like a slot machine and plays like a slot machine, and it's a slot machine, and he was talking about the racing term.
Why not just move your standalone bill, you know, enforce a vote in the Senate, or can you amend your own continuing resolution? Give other options so they don't have to initiate.
So, you know, clearly we're looking at this budget option as the primary option because that's the way we can get it in statute as quickly as possible and get it effective. You know, I'm not taking any of those other ideas off the table, but clearly the preferred method for the budget to make sure that we can account for the money that would be raised is to put it through the budget process.
If you could address yourselves to Ohioans, just average Ohioans right now, and tell them why you feel that even though they've said no, the voters have said no to expanded gambling 4 times, you feel that the legislature should pass this kind of a plan without giving voters a final say. Could you just tell Ohio voters why they shouldn't have the final say on this?
I've had that question posed to me before, and I refer it in a different way. If I come to you and tell you I'm starving, and you offer me 4 choices that I find not palatable, and I tell you no to all 4, does that mean I'm not hungry? No, it just means I don't like the choices you gave me. And I think that's clearly what people have told us by voting down the 4 previous issues. They did not like what was on the table. But does that mean they are not going to gamble? I'm here to tell you, because I do gamble, and because I have been in these other casinos, Ohioans are there in tremendous numbers, taking Ohio dollars out of Ohio into other states and supporting their general budgets and not ours. And you see the consequences of it. When we take all of Ohio money and put it in other states, and we have nothing to come back into Ohio to spend, you see the consequences of our budget that we're dealing with today.
And I would just add, I previously studied this issue before I was elected, and counted cars in other states. And it was always 70–80% of those cars were Ohio license plates. In addition, I guess I would say to Ohio voters, I believe this is a common sense approach that not only creates jobs, helps local economies, and helps fix Ohio's desperately needed budget corrections. And I think that it is also, we have not put this proposal before voters. We have the opportunity to do this as a legislative body. This is not the same proposal, casinos and others that have been placed before voters. So I think that it is different, and it is a common sense approach that creates jobs, helps local economies, and helps reduce the need to cut additional jobs at the state level, cut more money on mental health funding, libraries, you name it, across the board. And I've had over 40,000 emails in regards to some of these cuts. So people understand that these are desperate times, and they're looking for leadership. And what we're looking for is some leadership in the Senate to allow members of the General Assembly to take this vote and to provide leadership to Ohioans. About casinos that's been on the ballot before, you've had outside interest. Some of the plans haven't been the best designed plans. So you get a lot of money playing in on that. At some point, we have to step up and take some leadership, not be affected by outside dollars, not be affected by those other interests that might have a different plan in mind. It's what we think is best for Ohioans, and to take the leadership that's needed to fix Ohio's problems. And that's what we're here to do.
Isn't this kind of,
Well, just I'll follow up on that just real quickly. I think if you would propose to the people of the state of Ohio, here's your options. One is to raise taxes. Another is to cut services even more dramatically than they are right now. And third is to try to keep Ohio dollars in Ohio. I think they would say, let's keep Ohio dollars in Ohio. Let's allow this expanded gambling at the racetrack so the people that are leaving the state can stay here and entertain themselves that way.
Why don't you do that then? Why don't you put a proposal on the ballot and say to the voters, if you don't pass the gambling proposal, we will have bigger cuts or we might have a tax hike. And then you know for sure.
Well, we have, right now, time is of the essence in the sense that the budget needs to be passed as quickly as possible. We need the revenue now to fill these budget holes. So that's why we're going in this direction.
My message too with our constituents and my house too has been, if we have two choices, one being slots at the racetracks or raise taxes, if you don't want to gamble, don't go to the racetracks, okay? If we raise your taxes, you don't really have an option, do you?
some have argued that this would put us on a slippery slope towards full-fledged gambling that maybe Ohioans may not have wanted, such as full-fledged casinos. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't believe that's the case. I don't think this puts us on any kind of slippery slope. This is simply an expansion of the lottery in the state of Ohio, and I don't see that's the case at all.
You know, to take it one step further, if we go this route, if we're successful, and we find out that it's a very viable way to help us fund our general budget, and because the people want to expand on it, does that mean we've taken you down a slippery slope, or does it mean that perhaps this was the right answer all along? You know, and again, it's not a catch-all. Okay, this is just a part of the solution. It's not the total solution.